Hi, welcome to Noumena, the only place that's reverse engineered the College Board. We're going to show you how to solve these problems very quickly with mathematical precision and with 100% confidence. That means you no longer have to rely on the answer key, but purely on the power of knowledge. The mind is a powerful tool, and we're going to show you how to use it. Here's how it's done. Question 20. When Doris Lessing published The Golden Notebook in 1962, it instantly established herself as one of the most important literary voices of her generation. Let's take a look at all of our choices again and look for all possible errors that may be related to each of these underlined portions.
The reason we do it this way is not to do the problem slow. Actually, as we explain these problems, it may look slow to you. But in actuality, if you know all these points, you're going to be going through these points very, very quickly in your head. So try to understand the grammar behind these choices and why we eliminate them or keep them. And you will be able to solve these questions very, very quickly.
So let's get to the choices. It. When Doris Lessing published The Golden Notebook in 1962, it. Here we're going to test for pronoun. Is the pronoun correct here? Well, we have to look to other parts of our sentence so we can really know. And as you can see from the slide here, we circled herself. Anthony Sonsini, why do I have to look at herself in order to understand if this pronoun is correct?
This is a really tricky pronoun question. They try to set a trap here because it can take on the antecedent, the golden book. If you guys don't know what antecedent means, an antecedent is the noun that the pronoun is trying to replace. So here, it almost appears to be replacing the golden notebook. But the golden notebook couldn't instantly establish herself since herself is a reflexive pronoun, and a reflexive pronoun should only be used when the agent is the same person or the same thing. So if you take a look at our note here, you'll see that reflexive pronouns are used to denote actions done by a person or thing to his or herself or itself. For example, John hurt himself by falling off the ledge. We couldn't say the cart hurt himself. The car hurt himself by falling off the ledge because the car would be a thing and himself would only refer to a person. So using that logic, we can also see that the notebook couldn't have done it to herself. Herself refers to a person and it refers to a thing. So the agent and the self must be one and the same.
So then it should be a person, and the only person in our sentence is Doris Lessing.
Exactly.
Okay. So another pronoun that probably more appropriately would fit here would be she.
She would work.
Okay. So let's keep that in mind as we move forward and check the other letters and answer choices for possible errors to make sure that this is the error and not something else, and we're not misreading this. Instantly established. Here we're going to look for errors, modifier errors or verb tense errors. Okay. Well, let's take a look. Established. That's our verb, so we're checking to make sure instantly established. I don't see any problems there.
Right. Again, we should look for tense clues. And in this case, the tense clue is the adverb clause. So let's look at the adverb clause when Doris Lessing published The Golden Notebook in 1962. If you notice here, the verb in the when clause, published, is the same tense as the main verb established in the main clause. This makes perfect sense because these two events are happening at the same time. Doris Lessing published her book, and thereby it established her, or she established herself as one of the most important literary voices of her generation. So the two events must happen simultaneously, and thus this adverb clause should be our tense clue. So let's look at our note. The verb in the when adverb clause must agree in tense with the main verb of the main clause. It seems to work here. So B, there's no problem with B in terms of tense. Let's move on to C.
As one. For C, we're going to check for errors that relate to possible pronoun or number agreement. Here, the pronoun one, I would probably go work my way backwards and just kind of follow to see what one is referring to. Well, we have herself, and then if our logic holds true for A, it should actually be she, and that pronoun should refer to Doris Lessing. So we have Doris Lessing, it, herself, one. They all seem to match, so I think one is okay. Is there anything you wanted to add there, Anthony Sonsini?
Sure. I think some of you may be having difficulty looking at one because it's an indefinite pronoun. Oftentimes when we have an antecedent, in most cases, a personal pronoun is required, such as she, he, or it. But in this case, the indefinite pronoun works fine because you're not actually referring directly back to the idea of she. What you're saying is she became one of the random most important literary voices. So she became included in this category of most important literary voices, and as such, she became one of them, or she became an indefinite one of them, or a random one of them. And so the only thing that we really need to look out for here is the number agreement. And as we see, one is singular, and herself is singular, and as Brian Sonsini mentioned, if we change A to she herself all refers back to Doris Lessing, making the number in both cases agree with the singular indefinite pronoun one. So we're good with C. Would you like to move on to D?
Sure, let's go on to D. Most important. Here we're going to test for modifier comparison errors. Okay? So let's take a look at that first one, modifier. Here we have an adjective modifier modifying literary voices. That looks fine. What about comparisons, Anthony Sonsini?
Well, here they're saying that, again, she's thrown in this category of most important literary voices. So because they're creating a category as such, we can use the superlative most important. There's nothing wrong with this. The comparison is understood. So in this case, there's no comparison error. One of the most important, or and then you have a superlative comparison, most, or the best, or the highest, usually works. So D is fine.
Great. So we did see a problem in A. So if we're right, then our answer should be A. There we go. A. We have a pronoun error here in A. As we stated earlier, we need to get rid of it and change it to she.
Exactly. Because of herself, because of the reflexive pronoun herself, it would not work here. Let's look at our note again. Reflexive pronouns are used to denote actions done by a person or thing to his or herself or itself. In this case, Doris Lessing was the one who instantly established herself as one of the most important literary voices of her generation. She did it to herself. So the correct pronoun will be she. If you need any more help, go to our archives and look at our clips.
Noumena, empowering mind.